everybody. Welcome to Fit2B Studio. Actually, this is my home, and my name is Beth Learn. I am the founder of Fit2B Studio, and I am here today with special guest Lorraine Scapens from Pregnancy Exercise. She's also the founder of turningbaby.com, and she's over in New Zealand, and I am in Battleground, Washington in the USA. And this is just so cool because doing things like this allows experts like us to connect together clear across the ocean and offer our viewers some really cool information and content that would be really hard to give you live in any other way. And I'm really hoping that everybody can hear me and can see me. We did have some audio and technical difficulties the last time we did this. So please message me right away if you're not hearing me or not seeing me very well, because I can change a few of my settings. I can adjust things up and down so that you can hear me better. So let me know if you're having any trouble. Just really quick, I wanted to let you know how I met Lorraine. See if this helps. I'm turning myself up a little bit. I met Lorraine through Facebook several years ago. Or not several years, maybe just a couple years ago. And it was back when I was really excited about all the information I was learning about diastasis. And I came across some articles that she wrote, and I saw some exercises she was doing, and I started just messaging back and forth with her and comparing notes and sharing my thoughts and ideas, and she shared her thoughts and ideas. And it just kind of struck up a conversation clear across the continents about women and fitness and pregnancy, and we've kept up that dialogue for the last couple of years now, and I really like what she does. She has a very simple, straightforward approach, and Fit2B Studio, we offer diastasis-aware fitness, specifically tummy-safe workouts, which means that we don't put crunches and sit-ups in our workouts anymore, and neither does she. And so what's cool and what allows us to work together is that she really has a specialized program for while you're pregnant and just after you're done being pregnant. And we don't really have that yet. We have this really broad category of workouts for all levels and abilities. And so I just really wanted to showcase what she has and what she's doing. And I'm going to actually give her the floor and let her talk on her own. I'm not going to be on camera. I'm not going to share my screen. You're not going to see both of us because I think the sound works better that way. So Lorraine, I'm just going to let you take it over, and I just want you to share for 5 minutes or so about who you are and what you do and why you do what you do and what's exciting about what you do, and then I'll jump back on and we'll get the question and answer session started. Okay? So here is Lorraine, and I am going to click on her and say, put on screen.
Wow. Okay. Hi, everybody. Is that okay? Can you hear me, Bethany? Hi, everybody. I'm hoping you can hear me. Thank you, Bethany, for that handover and lovely welcome. Oh, great. Everybody can hear me. I'm Lorraine from Pregnancy Exercise. And yes, Bethany and I met via Facebook just a couple of years ago now, and Pregnancy Exercise, I started that 2 years ago, and I also started turningbaby.com just 6 months ago, where I discuss on how we turn babies ready for optimal turn babies into an optimal position, ready for hopefully the natural birth that you want. But what I'm here for today is hopefully that we can talk about anything that you want to ask. Okay, so whether that's from pregnancy exercise, exercise intensity, back pain in pregnancy, how to turn your baby if your baby needs to be turned, how to achieve a nice pregnancy and breathe through your pregnancy fit and well, and then again post as well. So Bethany talked about how we don't do any crunches, and that's completely correct. No crunches for a flat tummy. So I don't do any crunches during pregnancy or after, and actually I don't even do any now. I pride myself in doing sessions with my clients and not doing any crunches. And all my, none of my clients have got diastasis now once they're post-pregnant. So hopefully, start to load your questions up, and and we'll see what comes about. So what I was going to talk today about is predominantly turning babies and how we can stop the point that you actually need me, so that we can have your babies in optimal position the whole of your pregnancy. Okay, so you don't actually need my program, but if you do, I do a great 14-day program. So what I'd like you to do is all start commenting on how many of you are actually pregnant, how many of you are post-pregnant. Please feel free to tweet this webinar off to any of your friends. So let's see who we've got in who's pregnant, and we'll start loading up the questions. But what we'll go through is first, are you coming on, Bethany? I'll just check if Bethany.
Oh no, just 1 second. Let me just jump on really quick. I'm just going to bump you off really quick, 1 moment. So what I'll do is I can actually take the questions that are being posted and put them right onto the screen in front of you. And I love what you said about pregnancy, so I'm just going to clarifying that if you people have questions to ask, just type in the chat box. No, that way. That way. It's all opposite on here, so type in the chat box. And also you can share your camera. If you do want to share your camera and show her something, have her evaluate your alignment, that's also a possibility. Okay, so I'm going to put Lorraine back on and we will move along with the question series here. So here she goes. 1 second.
I understand your question. So if you can just post that again and be a little bit more clearly, that would be fantastic. So what we'll get into first is posture, pregnancy posture. Can you all actually still hear me? So we're going to get into posture just at the time now when Bethan has just posted, she's 30 weeks pregnant with her 4th baby, so congratulations, Bethan. And she's got twins, and she's having a lot of lower back and left hip pain. And now her chiropractor has been able to help just a little, but she wants to know if there's anything else she can do. Now, I can't see the rest of the question there, Bethan, but yeah, sure, there's lots of things you can do. So what that's telling me is you've probably got a left imbalance, a muscle imbalance in your hips. So what you need to do now, and hopefully your chiropractor's told you this, is one of the first things you need to cut out. I'm going to stand up, everybody, is, if you can see my hips, I'll actually back up. I hope you can all see this. Is Bethan, can you just stop standing on one side like this? So you watch your posture and probably carrying your other 3 children. If you constantly, see if I can move back a little bit more, girls. If you're constantly standing like this is a position we stand in as females all the time. This weakens the muscles in the hips. It weakens the glute med. So the glute med. So what we need to do is exercise to strengthen that glute med. And also I want you to watch, Bethan, that you stop crossing your legs, and when you're sleeping at night, I want you to put a pillow under. So everybody from 14 weeks, that's where I encourage a lot of my clients to start using a pillow under the knee, is to raise a pillow, put a pillow under your knee when you're sleeping at night to keep your femur in a straight position. As what starts to happen is during your pregnancy, because your hips are getting wider, it drops your foot down. So imagine if my hand, it's quite hard this because it's working on a mirror image and the camera. So that's what starts to happen. So imagine this is your leg and my hand's your foot. So all this weight whilst you're sleeping starts to pull on your hip muscles, weakening them more. But if you raise your leg, so imagine again this is your ankle with a pillow underneath, it can stop a lot of that hip and pain discomfort. So any pain presenting on one side, strengthening the glutes, strengthening the glute med, changing posture, and doing one of my favorite exercises, Bethan, is a side few things. So that's your posture. So address your posture, how you stand. I'm going to go on about that. Okay, so how many of you standing sitting down with your legs crossed at the moment? Don't. Okay, that's one of the main things that weakens our hips as females, our hip muscles. Sleeping position and the side leg lift. And I hope that answers your question, Rebecca. And Beth Ann, sorry, and we're just being posted another question now from Rebecca Weiss. And she is asking, are there better positions, posture to be in while pregnant, like sleeping, walking around and moving? Now, this is fantastic, actually, about all the questions that are coming in on posture. And I think we'll go into this after this question. So, Rebecca, hopefully I've just answered your question on sleeping positions, because definitely you want to put a pillow underneath to help with any back pain. Now, walking around and moving, we can always do this better. So if you are pregnant, we always need to watch out that we're not bending down straight the whole time and just moving from our back. So let's imagine my wrist is your pelvis, okay, and your hips. So we just want to watch that, and we can avoid that by squatting down to pick things up off the floor. And walking, okay, which is also what Rebecca asks. During our pregnancy, the pregnancy hormones, relaxin and progesterone, weaken our ligaments and make them loose. So especially around your hips, so around your pelvis. So whilst you're walking, what walking is doing is separating your pelvis, okay? So it's classed as a separation exercise, as is lunges. So when you're walking, what I say to my clients is, walking when you're pregnant, avoid striding out. So you don't want to take long strides. Shorten your stride a little bit and focus on using your glute muscles. So that's the best thing you can do when you're walking. So let's have a look. Is there any more questions? Oh, great. These questions are coming in quite quick. Here's one from Katie. She's got an 8-month-old son. He was born posteriorly after 5 days of a drug-free labor. Oh, wow. Katie, you're amazing. Wow. So Katie's asking how can she prevent this from happening again? Katie, you're absolutely amazing. My first baby turned a couple of hours into labor into a posterior position, and I had a horrendous time after that. I can't believe you did it drug-free. I'll tell you a little bit about that birth, actually, because it's that birth, along with my other children, how I developed the Turning Baby program, and now I know how important it is for women to get their babies into OFP, which is optimal fetal position. So you can present a baby being posterior. My birth, Kate turned 2 or 3 hours into labor. I'd had great contractions at the front prior to this, and then all of a sudden the contractions went from 5 minutes. Instead of getting closer together, they started going further apart. Once they eventually started coming back, they felt really different. And as a first-time person going into labor, you don't know how it feels or how it's expected, but the labor pains, I don't like to call them pains because I don't try and associate birth with pain, but the contractions came back, and all I could do was feel the pain in my lower back, and it was absolutely horrendous. Not like normal frontal contractions, what you get if your baby's placed in an anterior position. What I'll just do is, I've just set this doll off. I'll just switch her off because I want to show you the baby's position, just in case there's anybody out there who's not aware of baby's position. So we're talking at the moment, everybody, about a posterior presenting baby. I'll hold this little baby up. Now, posterior means when your baby's back is up against your back. So the presenting in this position. So they're facing towards you, so it's back to back. So this is a posterior presentation, everybody. And what we need for the optimal birth, for the nice natural birth, and one without too many medical intervention, is a baby positioned in the anterior position, and the head would be directly down. So that's what we want, an anterior position, straight down. We do get babies that start to present to the right anterior and also the left anterior. Okay, but going back to Katie's baby, which was in this position, and my first, this causes an awful lot of back pain. Now, from what I've learned in the past couple of years, your placenta, which is a large organ, your placentas can be, if everybody does that at the moment, I sort of think of my placenta as being a large jellyfish. So placentas are around about that big, if not bigger, and they are about that thick. Okay, so that is a big organ. Now, where your placenta is attached can affect how your baby's positioning. If you've got an anterior placenta, so placed here, an anterior placenta can reduce baby from getting in to that nice anterior position. So if you were, what I say to my clients is, at your 20-week scan, at your anatomy scan, they'll note down in your comments whereabouts your placenta is placed. So if you take note, and if you see that your placenta is positioned anteriorly, you can start putting things into place from around about 24 weeks to minimize the chance of your baby presenting in the posterior position. Now, also the placenta, if the placenta's a low-lying placenta and placed posteriorly or anteriorly, what they normally do is, if you've got a low-lying placenta, they'll ask you to come back for a scan at approximately 30 weeks, just to make sure it's moved out the way. And placentas generally move up and out the way of your cervix from 30 weeks as your uterus starts to grow. But if you think about it, think again about how big the placenta is. Okay, you've got to bear that in mind. Your baby, if your placenta's low-lying, it can actually prevent your baby getting in a head-down position. So your baby might want to adopt the breech position until around about 30 weeks. And it's then, once the uterus has moved out the way, that we want to turn baby into a head down position. Right, so there are some great exercises what you can do to prevent a posterior position baby. I'll just put that out of the way. Rock backs are my favorite. So that's pretty much being on 4 points, so hands and knees. Kneeling, so hands and shoulders are down directly, hands are down directly from your shoulders, knees are down from your hips, and you rock back. And you do these exercises, so you rock back onto your bottom, so you sit back onto your bottom and do that 8 to 10 times, then relax back in a stretch, and do that for a couple of sets, 2 to 3 sets, and do that 3 to 4 times a day. So that's the exercise to do. Posture you need to avoid is sitting down with your pelvis in a posterior position. So I hope you don't mind me getting up and down, everybody. For a posterior position, I'm going to move this screen a little bit so you can see me here. Posterior position. So if we think this is an anterior position where we should start to naturally fall during our pregnancy, a posterior position is this. So a flex back. So if you're sitting down all day in this position, or if you're working as a hairdresser or standing up on your feet all day as a primary school teacher or any school teacher, you can tend to go in the classic sway back, which also puts your pelvis into a posterior position. And again, this position can lead to diastasis, which is another subject altogether. So you need to avoid those positions. So rock backs, placenta position, and your posture. So avoid sitting down with your tailbone tucked in underneath you. What you can do is, what I suggest to women is, when you sit down at a chair, think about your pelvis, just slightly tip your pelvis forward. So everybody can put your hands onto your pelvic bone now. Tip your pelvis forward, take your legs out wide, and your hips will naturally come forward, and that's how you want to sit. Right, and we've got lots and lots of questions coming in, so I'll try not to spend too much time with everybody. Got one here from Elizabeth, and she's 31 weeks pregnant, and she's having bad pubic pain on the right side. On her right side, let me see if I can scroll down there. I'll just try and get this one on her right side. And again, Elizabeth, I'm not sure if you saw the exercises. This question was posted just before. We can do side leg raises and stop standing on one hip and swaying out with your hip, and that would be fantastic. Also, Elizabeth asked a fantastic question. She's asked, if your belly button is popping out, what does that mean? Does that mean that you're developing a diastasis recti? And yes, it does point at that. So that's a great question that's come up. Belly button sticking out during your pregnancy, it can happen during any time in your pregnancy, but it should only sort of start to happen from around about 32 to 35 weeks. And your belly button popping out is suggesting the start of your diastasis. So if your belly button starts to pop out at 20 weeks, that's not great, because you should not have a diastasis at that point, especially during your first pregnancy. Subsequent pregnancies, again, you can notice that your belly button sticks out sooner. Again, you've either probably not corrected a diastasis. You need to look at your posture. What can you do to start to change that? You need to look at your posture, and you need to look at the exercises that you're doing. If you're following exercises that myself and Bethany recommend, then you're certainly not going to make your diastasis any better. We're going to prevent that diastasis from increasing. So hopefully that's actually a question. Also, one thing as well about belly button sticking out, later on during your pregnancy, if you notice your belly button sticking out, don't worry about it and say, oh, I've got a diastasis, what can I do? There's nothing you can do about it at that point. We're going to correct it later. But if you notice that your belly button's sticking out, and then all of a sudden a couple of days later it's not, that could mean that your baby has started to move around posteriorly. Watching your bump and having a look at your bump shape is a good check to see how your baby is presenting. So just be aware of that, especially as if you're late on in your pregnancy, around about that 38 to 40 weeks, and your belly button's been sticking out all the time, then all of a sudden your bump starts to look flat and your belly button's gone back in. It just could mean that your baby's turned posterior, and we need to look at exercises to do to spin baby round. So I hope everybody's okay with what we're doing so far. We've got a couple more questions to ask. Here's one coming in from Jessica. She's having her third baby. And she's having my third baby, and she's always had, oh, where's that question gone? There it is. Have about 2 fingers of separation. So she wants to know what she can do after having her third baby to close this gap. Hi, Jessica. You've come to the right place, because I'd say that Bethany and I are experts in closing abdominal separation after pregnancy. Now, Jessica, what you can do, can you just write, Jessica, if you had a natural birth or if you had a C-section with your previous 2, it can make a difference in how you recover. So I just want to know, and then we'll go on with Jessica's question, if you're going to have a C-section or if you hope to have a natural birth. I'll just wait for Jessica to pop that question in. And Paula, you said you put a question in and I can't see it yet. I can't see that. So that's Paula McNamara. I've lost your question, so I'm just trying to find out where that is. Just having a look on my screen. I'm just trying to see if Jessica, just coming back to Jessica. Ah, here we go. Jessica, fantastic. So both natural births. So if you have a natural birth compared to a birth with medical interventions or a C-section, your recovery will be far quicker than somebody who's had medical intervention or a C-section. Closing a diastasis post-pregnancy, you need to be very careful about the exercises that you do. You need to choose the correct exercises, the rehab exercises, and not go straight rushing back into the gym and thinking what a lot of women think is when they see the stomach once they've had baby and they've got their mummy tummy, they want to go, oh my god, I'm going to sit down every second I get and go and do some crunches. So that's completely the wrong way to go about it. You don't want to do any crunches at all. What we need to do is start by activating your transverse abdominals, and you can actually do this whilst in hospital or at home. If you think about it, you know, even as soon as 20 hours after having baby, you can actually just start to see if those muscles, your transverse muscles, are firing up. So what we can do now is we'll just have a little quick test to see if anybody, if you're in the last trimester and you've got weak core muscles prior to becoming pregnant, then there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to feel your abdominal muscles at the moment. But what I want you to do is everybody place 2 fingers, I'll just stand up, on your hip bones. Okay, so place 2 fingers here and cough, or cough everybody, and you should feel 2 little bumps push up under your fingers. Now they're your transverse abdominal muscles, the deep muscles. Okay, so they're the muscles that we need to fire up correctly post-pregnancy to start healing your diastasis. All right, so hopefully that answered your question. And if you come back to the sites, to my website or Bethany's website, we can steer you in the right direction on the programs. I sell the post-pregnancy program, the 12-week program, and that guides you from the very start of transverse abdominal activation and progresses you nice and slowly. So by the end of the 12 weeks, your gap is either completely healed or you've got minimal separation. But it's about going through things slowly, slowing everything down and thinking about your posture. Okay, so we're going to move on. We've got another question here from Paula. Paula, as a child, she remembers having to cross her legs when she sneezed, and she's had this all her life. First baby was 11.5 months ago, and she's always been fit and trying to, let's have a look. I'm just going to see the rest of this question. She's been following my videos, but when she was running down a hill last week, let's have a look what she's doing. Okay, Paul is admitting that even though she's been following my videos and exercises, she caught herself in the mirror the other day, standing and poking her stomach muscles forward and her poor posture. So running with poor posture. Now this is quite common. You can do the exercises needed to heal your diastasis, but if you continue through the day with poor posture, and that is one of the main culprits, is females standing, pushing the tummy muscles forward, which is the position I showed you before. And it's such, we do this and we do this all the time. So every time we're pushing forward or lifting babies and children up, if you push forward, you're continually stretching and separating the muscles. And if there's a gap there, in the 4 to 6 months post-pregnancy, when the pregnancy hormones, they believe, are still in your system. They believe that the pregnancy hormones, relaxin and progesterone, are still in your system 4 to 6 months post-pregnancy. So if you're not doing the right exercises to close the gap and strengthen them, and you're continually walking around with poor posture and doing the wrong exercises, you will actually increase your gap. Okay, so you need to completely change your posture, and your core exercises will eventually hold you in the new position. Okay, so in your new good posture, all right, as opposed to bad posture. But do make sure when you're lifting children up, it's something that we do all the time. I catch myself doing it, is pushing your stomach forward. Okay, so try to avoid that. Okay, Paula, I hope that's answering the questions. I'll see if we've got anything else coming in. Thanks, Bethany, for pushing all these through. I'm going to have a look at one. I think we've got one coming through from Audrey. Okay, Audrey asks, wow, congratulations, Audrey. Audrey's had 4 children and all have been posterior. Now, Audrey is saying her pelvis is getting tighter and smaller as she gets older. So I'm just assuming, are you getting back pain, Audrey, from this? Do you get any pain? Does it feel like it's quite tight? If so, we need to look at stretching exercises to help with this. It does sound like you've got quite a tight, you could have a tight piriformis, which is the deep muscle in your glutes, which can have a big pull on your pelvis into the incorrect positions. Or you could have a really tight psoas muscle, which is one of your hip flexors. So I don't know if you want to come on screen, Audrey, there and post how your pelvis is, or give me a little bit more information on that question. That would be fantastic. I'll have a look to see if there's more questions. Here we go. Here's one from Rebecca. Another one from Rebecca coming in. Any tips for a natural delivery after 2 births? Her first was natural. Her second C-section, her second was a C-section with twins, and with a 4th one as well. She's hoping for a natural delivery. Well, Rebecca, you've had a natural delivery first time around, so you know you can do it. And even if you've got a diastasis going into labor, it's not really going to make a difference. You can start to look at some core exercises, what you can do now late on in your pregnancy. There are exercises that you can do to start to help your core strength and prepare for birth. Squats are a fantastic exercise to do during your pregnancy, right through deep squats late on in pregnancy. We'll have a little bit of a talk about squats, actually, because squats are one of the favorite exercises that I recommend. The only reason you don't want to do squats is if you find out at 30 weeks that your baby is not presenting in an optimal position. So from around 30 weeks, if your baby is posterior or breech, you must avoid deep squats. So you can still squat, but don't squat below 70 to 80 degrees. What squatting does is pushes baby deeper down into your pelvis. So it's absolutely fantastic if your baby is in optimal fetal position, but if it's not, we certainly don't want to push a bottom deeper down or push them deeper down if they're in posterior. So watch out for squats if your baby's not in optimal position. but do squats to prepare you for birth. They're one of my fantastic exercises, and I recommend everybody to do. If you have any pain in your knees or in your back with squats, then you need to, I've actually just loaded up a great video on YouTube about how to squat during your pregnancy, and that gives all the alternatives on how to squat correctly and the changes that you can make into your squatting routine. But make sure you squat during your pregnancy. It's got many benefits. Okay, there's lots of questions here. I'm just trying to get, here we go. Great. Bethany's just going to put Audrey back on. We were just talking about Audrey's hip. So Bethany's going to just switch Audrey on, and we'll go from there.
Hi, Lorraine. Can you hear me?
Hi, Audrey.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go on, tell me a little bit about your hips. Can you stand up, Audrey? Can we have a look?
Yes. So I was in a car accident when I was 14, and the chiropractor said that it twisted my hips like this, and I didn't know about chiropractors, so it healed this way for about 3 years. And all of my babies tried to be posterior, and I have horrible back pain here during labor. And then just all the time, I feel like I carry all my stress here, and this gets very tight right around the sacrum. And it takes me 6 hours or more to push my babies out. And uh-oh, we lost Lorraine.
Hi, she may have gotten off to let you be on, and so I'm hoping that she'll refresh her screen and come back on. Sometimes this happens. I was like, no, where'd she go? So I saw what you said, and I can see how your hips are. I can see that in how you stand, and I'm totally with Lorraine and what she said earlier about your piriformis or your psoas probably being a part of that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, oh, there she is. Okay, she's queuing up her camera. Yay, I see her. Because she's the real expert in the whole pregnancy posture thing. That's something I'm still learning. I get to go to a workshop with Katie Bowman and Spinning Babies in March. I'm pretty excited about that. But for right now, I'm just thrilled to have Lorraine. So I'm going to cue her back on because she's the one that you really want to be talking to right now. So stand by one moment. Take myself off.
Hi, Audrey. I can't hear you.
Okay. Were you able to hear everything I said, or no?
I think we've lost Audrey. I can't hear her at all, Bethany. So what we'll do is we'll just move on because we've got a couple more questions if you can queue them up. Let me just think where we were with Katie. Yes, that's right. We were talking about chiropractors and massage therapists. Sorry about the break. It's just how different questions come in. So when you go to a chiropractor, I'll just go back on a little bit about what I said there. You go to a chiropractor and they'll do an adjustment on you straight away, which is great. You know, we've got chiropractors, osteopaths. I'm a biomechanic specialist, so I assess postures a lot, and I started off in that before I got into the pre and postnatal exercise. So all my programs are based around maintaining poor posture, maintaining good posture, preventing poor posture. So by developing and strengthening the correct muscles, it will pull you into the posture that we need to prevent pain. So when you go to a chiropractor, if you've got a sore neck or sore hips, what a chiropractor will tend to do is adjust you there and then, say bye-bye to you, and probably see you again next week, and they'll adjust you again. But if you're not doing anything to correct and strengthen your muscle imbalances that have caused the poor posture, then you're not going to see any benefits from it. You really do need to address your posture and do your corrective strengthening exercises. Now, the hump, if you're turning around, okay, so if you're breastfeeding constantly like this with a forward head posture, you are going to get the old lady's hump, the fluid buildup in your neck. Now, if that's still soft, that's okay. It's not calcified at the moment, which it can do and which it does do later on as well. So what you need to do is when you're breastfeeding, I'll just try and lift up a little bit, is instead of slumping down, just always try and lift your chest up and draw your chin backwards a little bit. So you're breastfeeding like that. You can still relax the rest of your body so you're staying relaxed, but you're not slumping down. It's this position, Katie, the forward head position, which causes the hump and the fluid buildup in your neck. So hopefully, let's see, any tips to help a hump in the neck, which we've answered, which is due to constant breastfeeding and carrying to sleep. So it's all about standing up and carrying your baby's weight as well as you can. Okay, again, if we're rocking babies continuously to sleep, I'll use this little baby again. Okay, so if you can see me, if we're continually rocking babies to sleep, you just don't want to be hunched over. You can stay quite relaxed, and I'm holding pretty good posture there and balancing baby's weight on either side. I'm not constantly leaning over onto one side or tipping. Anything like this, anything where you start to lean onto one side, breastfeed with poor posture, it's going to cause aches and pains. Okay, so try and change your posture. Hi, Heather. There's a question from Heather. Okay, Heather's asking, she's not had any children, but she was 3 months pregnant when she had a miscarriage. Sorry to hear about that, Heather, but she's having some of the symptoms. Okay, so she sometimes leaks when she sneezes, and she's got many of the posture issues and an ab separation. Heather, this is not uncommon at all. Many women prior to pregnancy can have issues, and a lot of issues like yourself, what you're experiencing, are due to a poor core strength, so poor activation of the transverse abdominal muscles. When we're sitting down a lot, if we're working in offices or sitting down through the day, we tend to slump and we switch off our abdominal muscles. We're not connected to our core muscles at all, and the poor posture as well, pushing your abdominal forwards, can cause a separation. It can also be genetic, pelvic floor muscle disorder. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. It's actually okay. There's nothing wrong with you experiencing those symptoms, but there is something you can do about it. And it's actually really important, Heather, that you start to look at if you can activate your transverse abdominal muscles and working on that strength before you get pregnant again. And you can have a look. I've got a couple of blogs and a couple of videos on my sites as well about the correct activation of transverse abdominals. So that'd be great for you to do. And I think we're looking at most of the questions answered there now. I think we've run through most of them. So if anybody else would like to ask a question. Okay, someone's asked about ways to ensure a natural delivery after a VBAC. Well, to ensure a natural delivery after a VBAC, or you first looking at a first delivery is to make sure baby's in optimal fetal position. If your baby's not in that position, then that's going to increase your chances of having a VBAC. And for anybody who's not sure what a VBAC is, that's a vaginal birth after a C-section. Yeah, just get your baby into optimal position. Get to know, let's have a look. If you're pregnant now, what we'll do is it's really important to try and know where your baby is. So get to know your baby's movements. So at night, from early on in your pregnancy, you can start from 28 weeks, start to belly map. So get to know where you're feeling baby's kicks, where you start to feel the most movement, because this is a great guide to tell you where your baby might be positioned. Now, you can also start to feel where the baby's head is, where their spine is, or where the bottom might be. Now, many midwives and obstetricians will still mix up. It's very hard to distinguish a head and a bottom until after 32 weeks. But if you start to feel lots and lots of kicks quite low down, and that's where you're feeling all the kicking movement, and you sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable through your rib cage, that could be the first guide to telling you that your baby is presenting in the breech presentation, which is the bottom down presentation. Okay, because baby, or even a footling, which is what my third baby did, and I had lots of pressure down there. It wasn't nice actually as well. I actually thought that she was going to kick out of there. So she was kicking down all the time. So get to know where your baby's kicking and where all the movement is. And let me think what I was going to suggest then. And also as well, noting the shape of your bump for later on. We briefly discussed this a little bit earlier. So when you're pregnant, you should have the nice, I can't get used to this mirror image. Let me see. The nice round, pear-shaped baby bump. Or if it starts to look a little bit flat, it could suggest, if it's been looking nice and round, that baby has moved into a posterior position, or baby may have even moved into a transverse position. So it's really good for you, and it's great feedback before you go for all the midwives checks, to start to map where you think your baby might be presenting yourself. Once you find out where baby is presented, if baby's in optimal position, that's fantastic. You can start to do exercises that's going to hold your baby in that position. And if baby's not in that position, then I suggest actually from 32 weeks that you start doing exercises, looking at your posture to turn baby. They do say that many babies turn, around about 90% of babies do turn into an optimal position. But if you wait too long, baby's got less room to move. So you should try and turn a baby before 35 weeks, and then you can relax and you can think about having the natural birth you want. So to ensure, Audrey, that you have a nice natural birth, is get your baby into optimal fetal position. Have a look, we've still got we've got anything else, Bethany? Is anything else coming in? I have. Paula's just quickly asked, Paula was on before, she's just clarifying one question. She just wants to know if her issues are totally related to diastasis recti, or do we think that there's another problem under the... Paula, I would say what you've just picked up with your posture, that a lot of it could be down to posture. And I would suggest, if you can work completely and solidly focus on your posture for the next 4 to 6 weeks, and if you can change things by strengthening your core muscles, I would then see if you've still got those problems. If those problems have started to reduce and you've closed your diastasis, then continuing with that, and you should see all your symptoms eventually go. But Paula, if there's no changes after 6 weeks of constantly focusing on your posture and doing the corrective exercise, then maybe you do need to go and just check with your physio and to see if there's anything else there, especially because you've had that from when you were younger. And I hope that answers that question. Okay, we're moving on to Brooke. Hi, Brooke. She's had 4 babies. There's lots of you on here with lots of babies. All natural births. Well done. Wow. And Brooke had a 10-finger width diastasis. Now she's asking how much of a gap can she expect to close? Now, this is a great question and a question that comes up all the time. Brooke, you can close it. You can. I don't know how long it's been since your last baby, but I've worked with clients, and I'm sure Bethany has as well, who got big gaps like yourself. It'll be, is it 10 fingers vertical, I'm assuming, as well? I don't know what your gap is horizontal, because we tend to measure it both ways. So you want to measure your DR vertically and also horizontally, and also the depth of your diastasis matters as well, because I'll just go into this quickly as well. If your gap is quite deep, it means it's just going to take longer to repair itself, because you need to build up a lot more connective tissue and cellular repair to reduce that depth. So it will eventually close, Brooke. It's just a matter of how long it will take you, being focused on your exercises and your posture, and yeah, so it will close. Thanks, everyone. Is there any more questions coming in? That's been really good. I hope I've answered all your questions. We've been okay. This is my first webinar that I've done.
Oh, it was great. You've done wonderful. I couldn't be happier with the level of information that you've shared. I do want to give Audrey one more chance to jump on. She's still waiting, and just kind of rephrase what she was trying to say earlier, if that's okay. And then then if you want to close by sharing more about your program, that'd be great. So let me take myself back off and put her on. And while I'm taking myself off, go ahead and talk for a couple minutes.
Yeah, Bethany, just wait a second. I just couldn't hear Audrey at all. Sorry, the camera wasn't working. Let's hopefully Audrey will come back in now, because I couldn't hear her at all before.
Okay, does it work this time? Can you hear me?
I can see you, Audrey, now. You just need to speak up a little bit for me.
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
That's fantastic. Yep.
Okay.
Let's have a look at your hips.
So here's sideways.
Yep. Just lift your top up a little bit. Great.
So it's, when I was in the car accident, it twisted like this, and then it healed that way before I started seeing a chiropractor. And, but I guess there was some connective tissue damage. And so all my babies try to be posterior. I carry all my stress here in the sacrum. And the with each baby, it has gotten harder and harder to push them out. My last 2 were C-sections, and that was after over 6 hours of pushing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I dilate just fine, but when it comes to pushing, and it's just getting smaller and tighter.
Yeah. Are you having another baby, Audrey?
Not yet. We're hoping to. Okay.
Okay. The only thing you can do is, because your pelvis has healed now in the incorrect position, all you can do is manage it as well as what you possibly can. And what I would say to you, I've had clients in a similar position to yourself. I work with clients who have had scoliosis, which is a twisted spine, and they've got metal rods up their back and holding the spine in a flat position. And we've worked with them during pregnancy as well. Now, you're in a similar situation, whereas we need to strengthen you as much as we can, looking at you as if you've got a scoliosis. All right, so you're going to have one hip, without doing any tests, one of your hips is going to be weaker than the opposite, but we can only strengthen it the best we can to help your condition. We can't actually reconnect it anymore because it's settled in that position. It's healed there. That's the position of your hips now. But what we need to do is really concentrate on your posture. I can tell you sit cross-legged a lot, okay? And we need to strengthen up your glute medius, which are the sides of your hips. So right there where your hands are now, we need to do a lot of strengthening work of your hip muscles. Side leg raises, some core strength, some transverse abdominal activation exercises. It could be that your babies will just naturally, similar to what I was saying before about how a placenta will affect your baby's position, your hips are just affecting how all your babies lie, and they just can't get themselves comfortable in the anterior position. So there may not be anything you can do to help that. If you've addressed things like your posture and strengthening your pelvis, then your babies are just going to adopt that position. But it will help you back a lot if you start to strengthen your glute medius. I can just see that your glute medius are quite weak just on that sort of brief just assessment of you there now. Yep. So I hope that helps. Yeah,
it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Audrey. Okay, everybody, that's been fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any more questions, you can put them. I'm thinking I might be able to comment once this goes up on Beth's site. I might be able to add in questions. If not, please, you're welcome to email me, Lorraine at pregnancyexercise.co.nz, and please come out and check out my website. So I've got turningbaby.com, and on that website, if your baby isn't in optimal position, you can purchase a 14-day program which helps to turn your baby into optimal position. And in that program, I discuss the exercises that you need to do, postures that you need to avoid, and the sleeping position, which will help to turn your baby. So that's quite specific. And then also, please come along and have a look at pregnancyexercise.co.nz, where you can purchase the pre and post-pregnancy online programs. And I just want to say thanks for Beth so much for allowing us to do this and actually meet each other. It's been fantastic. And that's been great. I hope you enjoyed it.
You just slap high fives or shake hands.
Oh,
woo! Awesome. Lorraine, it's been wonderful. And you can see from the feedback on the side that people are very delighted with the level of info. And I just got a text from Chris saying that this has just been such an amazing webinar. You can see him online, Chris Binky. He's my business partner. And he's just amazed at what you've been talking about and has been listening in too. Him and his wife have had 4 children. And this is information that we want every woman to have. And I'm just very honored that you joined us. So thank you very much for that. And I'm going to hit you up to do a little blog post for us so we can embed this screencast on the site. And you can embed it on yours as well. It will stay on the live streaming, so people will be able to keep watching it. We've already had quite a few viewers. There's probably already people watching it from the beginning. It's kind of like a TiVo thing where it'll play over and over again. So anyway, yeah, once I close the screencast, you won't be able to post questions anymore. But please do contact Lorraine. I've posted her websites a couple times, and I will be sure to post her content on our Facebook pages. And it's been a delight. Thank you, Lorraine, so much.
You're welcome, Bethany. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming along. It's been great.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.